Welcome to the Passive Income Podcast. I'm your host, Dividend Dave. Please be sure to join the Passive Income Posse by clicking that subscribe button below. Super excited for this episode. Joining me is Danielle Levy. Danielle, please go ahead and give yourself an introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Levy and I'm a realtor from Toronto. I work with Sutton Group Admiral and I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for coming on and spending time with us, spending time with me here and the
Mhm.
viewers on the Passive Income Podcast. Yeah, so Toronto real estate. Let's jump right into it. Obviously, here in Canada, we hear a lot about Toronto and Vancouver and the exorbitantly high prices of real estate in those two markets, and that's really what we hear about a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah. You've been following me on Twitter for I think a while now, so you see that I've been posting about it. Get really upset over these things sometimes, but yeah, it's been a ride in the last few years, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe just talk a little bit more about that Toronto market and what you see, and obviously what we've seen in the last year to 2 years with the rising interest rates and Uh, home prices not really falling, maybe falling a little bit because of those interest rates, or what
Yeah.
are your thoughts?
Well, right now I feel like we still have a lot of unrealistic sellers. So we do have a lot of inventory out there, especially in the condo market downtown Toronto. And yeah, things aren't moving. And then some buyers think that they have negotiation power depending on the property and how long it's been sitting for. But as long as the sellers are not realistic about the price, they can hold on to it for as long as they want. Obviously, there has been a decrease in price because that's what happens when they raise rates. But you could feel the difference for sure in the last few years. It was very different a few years back when things were selling super, super fast. So, I mean,
Selling super fast and above asking price quite
with
often.
yeah, like even for a condo, and it takes time for condos to appreciate. They're not like homes, right? Like
Right.
freehold homes. So it's it's definitely very different. I just sold a condo actually downtown Toronto a day before Christmas.
Okay,
So
that's
and
interesting.
I sold it in 14 days, and I was a little bit worried when I listed it that it would take longer because my client actually relisted it, like, 4 or 5 times before me, but thankfully, I got a deal done before Christmas, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's
Yeah.
very good. Um, and so even with those prices coming down a little bit, but
Mhm.
with the rising interest rates, the buyers are still basically paying the same or more, right?
Yeah, basically. I have this, calculator on my website where you could break down how much it would cost you to rent or to buy depending on the property and how much you put down, and in some instances, it's actually better to buy than it is to rent because
Right.
even rent prices are super high. So you might as well own something instead of
Yeah.
pay someone else's mortgage if you have the money, of course, like on the side.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely what I find here in my market is, I'm 2 hours east of Toronto in the Bay
Mhm.
of Quinte area, and what I see, like, I own my house or well, I own half of it, the bank owns the other half, and, but talking to friends and other people that rent in town, and it's just unreal, for a very small city in sort of central Eastern Ontario, what the landlords are asking, and I'm just like, these are crazy prices, and yeah, it is definitely in this area, I would say has to be less expensive to own than it is to rent.
Yeah, but prices for rentals have gone down a lot depending where you're looking because there's a
Right,
lot more options. I was looking at Toronto CO1 for example, and there's like hundreds of rentals up on the market. And there's things that are sitting, and then I also have people contacting me saying, is there any possible way you can market it for me? And I'm like, no, because I don't work for free. But yeah, no, there's a lot of competition out there right now for landlords. So it's hard. It's hard to get something rented, and a lot of them are actually doing rental incentives, like discounts.
right. I
Yeah.
just quickly here, a very special thank you to Snowball Analytics for sponsoring this episode of the Passive Income Podcast. Snowball Analytics is an amazing online platform that supports automatic brokerage connections with over thousands of brokers from US, Europe, UK, Asia, and more. With over 70 exchanges, you can track nearly any stock, ETF, or mutual fund on the planet. Snowball Analytics supports all major stock exchanges. You can add your holdings in multiple currencies, USD, CAD, euros, quids, Aussie dollars, and many more. And you can view your portfolio in your native currency. Sign up using the link in the description below. Start using Snowball Analytics today. And just quickly from personal experience, it is an amazing website to use. So thanks again to Snowball Analytics for sponsoring this episode of the Passive Income Podcast. Now, right back into I do want to keep talking about real estate, specifically in Toronto and the rest of Canada, I guess.
Mhm.
You're primarily obviously Toronto focused, but sort of do you have any thoughts and opinions on other areas of Canada? And like obviously I mentioned Vancouver as well as a very high priced real estate area. Do you have any experience in any other areas though? Like I'm like geographical areas?
Only in Ontario. I don't know anything about Calgary, about Vancouver. I do have friends that work out in Calgary and Vancouver. I do know that the Vancouver realtor pool there is actually a lot less saturated than it is here. My friend actually moved and started selling real estate there a few years ago. Now he's back and forth, and he told me it's actually way easier to get clients out there. Not sure about the real estate though. I do know that it is expensive. I'm just more focused on here because this is where I live, and
Right.
these are the
That
markets
makes
that
sense,
I
right?
study. Yeah, yeah. But I should look more into it just to kind of compare and see the difference. I've just been so busy focusing on what's going on here that I can't rip myself apart into so many different areas. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
So you mentioned other parts of Ontario. I'm guessing, like, maybe, like, selling to cottage country up in the Muskokas in that area, or am I way off?
Well, I'm in York region now, so I live in Vaughan. I do sell a lot and I trade a lot in York region, Toronto, Peel, lots in Mississauga and Brampton actually. More in Mississauga and Brampton than where I'm from. Um, I have sold up in the country, just not as much.
Right,
I did actually have a cottage up for sale, I think like 5 months back, and it wasn't selling. But I remember telling my clients this. I'm like, we're about to go on the market, and like there's going to be a 20% drop for cottages. So, and there was.
yeah, that's gotta be tough too, right?
It was tough because before, when people were buying to get out of the city because of COVID, prices were skyrocketing, and now it doesn't even compare. It's not the same. And then you kind of have to tell these people, listen, like you have to come to a middle ground because you're not going to be selling for COVID prices. Like people
Right.
don't care to go out and buy cottages right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's definitely something I've seen in my area since the late teens, like 2018, 2019 into 2020 was a lot of people selling in Toronto at those extremely high prices, like probably all-time highs,
Yeah.
and then starting to move east. And so then that drove the prices up in, like, say, Oshawa and Whitby, and then those people moved further east, and then that drove up the prices in, Cobourg, Trenton, Belleville, even Napanee, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. And I know many people that actually left the city. And I know people that have plans on leaving the city as well. It's just way too expensive to live in the city.
Right.
You're renting, if you're buying, like your mortgage payments, your rental payments, essentially it's the same thing. It's super, super high, and our salaries just don't go up with inflation.
Yeah, that is the other thing, right? You look back I'm not sure how old you are, but, if you look back at the historical charts of and you see it quite often, I like the posts, but they're also kinda depressing when it's like, "Oh, in 1970 whatever, you could buy a house for this and a car for this," and then, like, nowadays, it's like a new car or truck costs as much as what a house cost back then, and then
Yeah.
it shows the comparison of wages increasing, and obviously the wages did not increase anywhere near, the same as inflation.
Yeah, I'm not I'm pretty young, I guess. I'm 27,
Yeah,
but
very
I
young.
very young, but I do know I have watched everything and I have looked at charts and I have spoken to my parents, and so it's not like I don't know. I
Yeah,
know. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, people in my generation are definitely feeling it. That's for
yeah,
sure. Like
yeah,
a
definitely.
lot of us won't be able to experience that first time home buying dream anytime soon until somehow magically something straightens out. But yeah, like I'm telling you, like not me specifically, I worked really hard to get where I am, but a lot of my friends, a lot of the girls, the guys that I grew up with in school that, we have these conversations when we go for dinner, and some of them have parents that will give them down payments, some don't,
Yeah.
and it's sad.
Yeah, that was actually the next point I was gonna bring up. I hear that quite often. I listen to CBC radio quite a bit, and driving home from work just happens to be right when the business news comes on, and they mention that quite often when they're talking about real estate, how, millennials and or I guess Gen Z, are quite often, like, dependent on their parents for those for those down payments to just kinda get their foot in the door in the real estate market.
Yeah, I wish that's not what happened with me. My parents did not have a down payment. They couldn't even pay for my school. But yeah, I guess for some people in my area though, I live like in Thornhill. Most people's parents here have money, so
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, Thornhill is definitely a nice area, right? So it's I can see how the prices there are not inexpensive for sure.
Prices here did not go down. It's like recession proof. It's crazy. Like it doesn't go down. And I remember I had buyers that actually grew up here with their families, and now they're starting families, so they want to buy houses here, and like they're expecting some sort of like 200K discount miracle. I'm like, that's not happening in this area.
Right,
It doesn't happen. And then
right.
people, if you do list a house here, it's not going to be sitting for that long. It's recession proof. I
That's
always say
crazy.
that. Yeah. Yeah, I live in a very good area.
And then so further from just selling real estate, do you also invest? Do you have rental properties, or are you just kind of focused on your primary residence?
Yeah, I'm more focused on that. I can't just jump the gun. I know that a lot of like mom and pop investors just they see their property go up in value and they are like pulling equity right away. Like, no, I'm not. Good things take time. I'm taking my time. When I'm ready to jump into something else, I will. I'm still very young.
Yeah.
It's not like I can become a multi-millionaire in like a few years of starting into real estate and just start buying up everything. But yeah, I do have some investments that I am proud of, and hopefully it'll keep growing in a healthy manner.
Yeah, no, that's great. You made a perfect point there. You're young and you have time on your side, and
Mhm.
you've got plenty of time to invest, whether it's in real estate or the stock
Other
market.
Yeah, but I also think that other people think that it's just super easy to make money through real estate, and that's very dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, because look at all those people that took out a line of credit on their homes and they're paying straight interest and they can't even keep up with it. Like I heard so many crazy stories of husbands that did it behind their wives' backs and then they have to get three other jobs just to keep up with the interest payments, and I can't do that. I can't put myself through that. No,
No.
definitely no.
Yeah, that's another crazy point too. With obviously, I don't know what your relationship status is, but when people get into doing things behind their spouse's back, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, there's many stories like that. Many stories of, a single person trying to take control of the investments and all that stuff. But it's a slow process. It is. Like people don't just become rich overnight. But
Yeah,
having
not usually, right?
Not usually. It takes time. Like, listen, depends. Bitcoin, stock market, I'm sure like within 5 minutes you can either lose 20 grand or make 20 grand, but that's just not the type of investing that I'm into personally. So,
Yeah, no, I'd like to stay away from tho that very risky types of investments as well, and just
yeah,
the buy and hold, the long term strategy.
is better for me also. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not into risk.
Risk, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. Women tend to be much more risk adverse than men. It seems that quite often men will take more risks, which probably isn't great for us.
It depends. You can get really lucky, but majority of people don't get lucky.
Right.
You know, it's It's a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where I stand right now.
No, and it makes perfect sense, right? Like,
Mhm.
you're at that age where you should just be thinking buy and hold forever, and so I think that's kind of a good segue into sort of investing strategy. I'm guessing you probably do have some invested into the stock market, and then at your age, are you looking at more like of growth stocks, or you like the dividends as well?
I'm actually not invested in stocks right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, sorry, you mentioned you had some investments, and I just went there with that.
Yeah, yeah, in real estate, like, that's where I'm invested. I'm not invested in anything else right now, but I will be soon. I'm just trying to educate myself more about it. Like, I need to know everything. I'm that type of person. So
Well,
with
that's the
real estate, I'm
problem is nobody will ever know everything about the stock market.
just enough. Just enough. Just enough. Like, not to know everything, but just to know enough. But with real estate, I'm very confident because I trust myself and
Right.
people
Well,
trust.
obviously, you're educated and you have the
Yeah,
background in real estate that you know what you're doing, right?
exactly. So I'm not afraid when it comes to that. But yeah, I don't know. That whole other world is different for me. So I don't know.
So
It's
you're
more
still
about
at the point where the stock market is a little bit scary for you. Is that fair
yeah.
to say?
No, yeah, I'm not there yet. I'll read about it. Like I'll read what people say on Twitter, all that stuff, but just I'm not putting in my money into something that I just don't feel comfortable with yet until
Right.
I'm at the point where I am comfortable. But yeah,
Okay. So what's it going to take to get you there?
maybe I should like listen into more podcasts, I don't know, get advice from people that I trust.
Right.
I should really talk to my brother about it.
Right.
He knows a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Fair
invested
enough.
in the market. He's younger than me. He's a few years younger than me, but he's been I remember he sent me something once, I think it was, like, Investing for Dummies. It's like a
Okay.
book or something. I never actually read it. He probably thinks that I read it, but I didn't read it. Maybe he can sum it up for me, I don't know, but if there's anyone that I trust, it's him.
Well, if you
It's him.
still have that book, yeah, you should read it, or at least skim through it and give it the a quick overview, right?
Yeah, he sent it to me online because when he left university, there was, like, this website that he had where you can get free links to any book.
Okay, that's interesting.
So yeah, yeah. Yeah, he found something like that where you could just instead of buying the book, you have it online.
Well, yeah, if you still have access to that link, I would highly recommend reading that, and obviously, there's so many other great investing books out there, and sort of, to give yourself the knowledge. Um, One I've always recommended, it's older now, it's from, like, the late '80s or early '90s, but it's The Wealthy Barber by, David Chilton, who is actually on Twitter as well, and it's really crazy that, I read that book, like I said, back in the early '90s, and would have never thought that I'd ever have any interaction with him, and now I, like, will tag him in a tweet, and he'll like it, and it's just, like,
That's crazy.
crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a celebrity technically.
Yeah,
Do you
so, that's definitely, a book I would recommend, and then there's so many other great books, that you see people recommend on Twitter as well,
you should
that
send me a list. You
yeah,
should send
there's
me
a
a
bunch
list.
that people recommend that I haven't read, to be honest,
Yeah.
as well, so,
Yeah, I'd love to get into it. Anything to make more money, why not?
yeah, well, and that's just it, and that is kind of the crazy and scary thing about the stock market is, people say it's risky, and well, yeah, it is risky, and if you start out investing in penny stocks like so many people do, or trying to day trade, and yeah, you end up losing money, but if you go into
Mhm,
it with the knowledge of like, "Okay, I'm gonna buy these solid companies that have been around for 50, 80, 100 years or more," and and those companies are like, "Okay, we know they're not going anywhere," right? Like, the prime examples here in Canada are the Canadian banks. They've been around for 150 to 200 years.
mhm.
Um, Bell Canada has been around for over 100 years. Those are the type of companies that you Again, not financial advice, but that's where I would recommend people start looking, especially here in Canada. So,
Yeah, bigger companies.
well, and not just that, the bigger companies that have been around for
A
a long,
while.
long time, because
Yeah.
there's also the bigger companies that have failed, right?
I know
You know,
penny stocks are very dangerous. I know people
right?
that put in a lot of money into penny stocks hoping for the best and lost everything.
Yeah,
So, that's these stories, they scare me. Like, I work really hard for my money, and I'm also not in a position that I can just put 200 grand here, 300 grand here, you know?
yeah.
Let
Most
alone
people aren't.
yeah, like let alone 50 grand here, 20 grand here. Like I need to know what I'm doing. I need to know what I'm investing in before I do it because then otherwise in my mind because I'm a realtor, I'm like I could have just used this for a down payment or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to feel that guilt coming over me.
Well, and that's just it too. You go back to the real estate and that down payment, and you have like a physical, tangible asset. You have it's like a
Mhm.
land or a building. It's like I can see that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and like that even if there is like a bad time for a couple years, like you're buying it to hold on to it, to make money off of it. So it's not like it's not going to go up in value ever. Like we live in a great place. People say, "Oh, Toronto's going to crash and burn and it's never going to come back up." It's no, like Toronto's going to be the next New York City and when people move to Canada, they come to Toronto.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
usually right.
usually if they can afford it, they'll come to Toronto because that's where all the action is. You know, um the Raptors play there, they live there, Maple Leafs, Drake.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the city. Like that's just not going to change. It's not going to change.
Well, we'd better give a shout out to the Blue Jays as well then, if you're gonna mention the
Oh,
Maple Leafs and the
sorry.
Raptors.
The Blue Jays, I forgot. I don't watch sports, to be fair. So,
And while it is baseball off season, so it's understandable to not think about them right now.
yeah, I just know that the Leafs are playing and that the Raptors are playing. My friends have been talking about it the last 2 weeks in my. It's just been.
Yeah.
That's why I said it. Yeah, yeah.
So that's another interesting point. You know, Canada is a very immigration and immigrant focused country society. We accept a lot of immigrants every year.
We
And like
do.
you said, they primarily move to Toronto. A lot of them coming from Asia will move to Vancouver.
Hmm.
And again, that's driving up the prices in those two markets. And do you do you see any avenue where the immigrants would ever want to move to like Northern Ontario or somewhere in Manitoba or not the big cities, right?
I mean, if they move there off the bat, but once they get a taste of Toronto first, I don't think that they're gonna want to relocate to Manitoba.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
if you're gonna let in immigrants, show them other parts of Canada first, and they can decide what they want to do. But obviously, people sometimes will be forced to move because it's too expensive. I'm sure not every single person they let in has a lot of money, and Toronto is one of the most expensive cities in the world.
Right.
So what? People are gonna live paycheck to paycheck.
Well, obviously a lot of people do, right?
A lot of people do, but it's I don't know. It's even worse. I don't know. It depends where they're coming from and how much money they have, and
Yeah,
what field that they're in. I know people that have been living in Canada their entire lives. They're like, 40 minutes from Toronto that can't afford to live in Toronto till this day.
right.
So it just it really depends. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
always
that's
gonna
an interesting take, interesting point.
and when you're living in downtown Toronto, you're open to wanting to go out all the time. Like there's always things that are happening, which you're kind of pushed to to spend money regardless. So I know a lot of people are like, I'm going to sit home. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to budget. But it's like, okay, then Saturday comes along. You're super bored at home. You're like, okay, let me just go out and get some soup. Let me go out and get a drink. Let me go
Yeah,
out and meet my friends. So then it escalates, especially
yeah.
when you're in my age group. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you're in your, uh,
We're
early,
spending all
mid,
the
late
money.
20s, early 30s, you definitely wanna go out and socialize, and,
Yeah.
even a Saturday morning at Starbucks, that adds up real fast,
Hmm.
or like you said, in the summer, sitting on a patio in the afternoon and having a few obviously, alcoholic beverages are more expensive, but, it
Summer's the
doesn't
worst.
take long to spend a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Summer is usually the time where people are spending the most money. And I always used to make videos in the winter. I'm like, guess what, guys? It's time to save money. It's winter.
Yeah.
But even then, no.
Just
Like,
hibernate, stay inside.
and then there's Uber Eats. It's like I don't want to leave the house, but I'm on Uber Eats, and that actually comes out to more.
Yeah, way
Sometimes
more,
I have
right?
to force myself to get out of the house to pick up my order instead of get my order delivered to me because I'm like, there's no way I'm spending $20 on a smoothie. Like, there's just no way. I'm gonna leave my house and I'm gonna go buy the smoothie or I'm gonna go make it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it really depends. It depends if they get a taste of Toronto first. And if they do, they're not going to really want to relocate to Calgary or Manitoba. But yeah,
Yeah. Interesting.
that's
Yeah,
where
I
I,
definitely get that. Obviously there are a lot more things to do in the bigger urban settings.
yeah,
But with that said, that budgeting is important, but it's also extremely difficult. I live in a very rural area, and for me to do anything, I have to drive. Like I have zero things within walking distance of me, and so
really.
yeah, that probably actually forces me to think a little bit more. It's like the closest Tim Hortons is probably only a 7 or 8 minute drive away, but still, I can't just walk there, right? I have
Mhm.
to think about, do I really wanna go and get a sandwich and a coffee? Or do I really wanna drive into town? Or can I just make something here and heat it up in the microwave and be happy,
It
right?
does. It does force you. Yeah, I mean, listen, I was living in the city until August. I was like living right at King and Spadina for about a year. Um, and I miss the suburbs too much. I spent a lot less money when I lived in the suburbs.
Right,
I really started missing Vaughn when I was down there, but it's just very easy to spend money when you're down there. And things just seem to be a lot more expensive. Like the grocery stores that you're surrounded around, they're not like Walmart or Sobeys or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they're like Whole Foods and like it's expensive.
yeah.
So there's that.
I would
There's
even
that.
think in the suburbs, like, sure, there's a lot of things that are walking distance, but they're a further walking distance than the downtown when,
Oh yeah.
downtown, you step outside your door and there's 100 things right there where you could spend money, whereas in the suburbs, you're, in probably a subdivision, and you have to actually think about, am I gonna walk for 10 or 15 minutes to get somewhere, or am I gonna hop in my car or whatever mode of transit to go somewhere, right?
Yeah, I drive everywhere because there isn't I could walk, but it's why would I do that? You know what I mean? The grocery store is 5 minutes away by car, and if I walk, I'm gonna have to carry the bags, so I drive, but honestly, it's not that much of a mission for me to get anywhere. I have everything that I need around me.
Right,
Yeah, my friends, my family, my office, my grocery stores, my gym. I'm just, like, in a very comfortable place where I'm at, and to relocate to downtown Toronto was, like, a stretch for me.
right.
I may do it again. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
who knows, right?
We'll see. Yeah.
So, have you lived in the GTA, like, your whole life?
Yeah. Yeah, I was born and raised actually, I was born in Toronto, technically, because I was born at, Bathurst Finch, you know where Branson Hospital is?
Well, I know where Bathurst and Finch area is, but
Yeah, well,
the
that's
actual
that
hospital, no.
there was a hospital there where a lot of babies were born in '96. And yeah, I lived in Toronto for like 2 years. My parents lived in a condo, and then they bought a house in Thornhill, and I've been in Thornhill ever since. I bought in Thornhill. Um, I just couldn't leave. And you'd think that people my age would wanna get out and move into the city. I wasn't like that until, like, last year, and I only relocated for a significant other,
Right,
which is not he's not in the picture anymore, so obviously I moved back.
right, okay, yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I love the suburbs way more, I always will. Ideally
Yeah,
for me, I'll get married one day and I'll buy something up north. Not so north, like maybe like King or something like that. I want like land and I want space and I want silence.
when
That's
King, you like King City?
yeah. Yeah, probably. Maybe not because property taxes are really high there, but somewhere near there.
How far north would you go? Would you go to Newmarket?
Yeah, I like Newmarket.
Yeah,
It's not that
Newmarket's
far.
nice.
I love Oakville. That's not north, but I'm just trying to think about the areas that I like. I like Oakville. I like Newmarket. I like King. I like Kleinberg. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't even live in Forest Hill.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Like if I had the option, which obviously I don't right now, I don't like those areas. I don't know. Lots of break-ins right now also.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, tons of break-ins. Yeah.
Now I'm
Just
gonna sticking with real estate, but switch gears a little bit because I'm quite sure that I saw you tweet a few weeks ago or a month or so ago about going to New York City for real estate. Was that like a real estate conference or something?
Oh no, I was there last week. I went to go visit some friends and they happened to be pretty big realtors there. So I dragged them to open houses. And I was talking to the realtors at the open houses, and apparently it's very slow there. Very slow. But also the prices are super high. So
Right.
regardless, like if you're going to Tribeca and you're looking at a $4 million condo that's, you know, 2 bedrooms, you could negotiate it a bit. There aren't people lined up to buy these units.
That's crazy.
But that's the type of real estate I was looking at. But even the rentals, like even in Brooklyn, I went to a few showings with one of my good friends, and the rentals are crazy. Like you're getting a disgusting like 500 square foot unit for what? Like I think it was like 2,800 American, maybe
Holy,
USD.
yeah,
Yeah, like
500
it's
square feet for
for nothing. Like it's so expensive.
that's unreal to me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, the real estate there is very different. I also spent a lot of time in Florida too, so I looked at real estate there. Florida is just amazing.
yeah, well, the weather,
There,
right?
the weather, the just the units, everything there is just amazing, amazing. Yeah, I had more fun looking at New York though because I love that city.
Right.
And then I was also I went to Orange County. The real estate there,
California.
yeah, California. The real estate there is pretty expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean we're compared to like what we have, like we're like broke compared to them in the States. It's crazy. Like my friend's renting something for like 3,200.
Apo
It's
apologies. Hey,
okay.
Whistler,
I
come here, sit down. Sorry
probably
about that. He
probably heard something.
yeah, crazy.
Mhm.
Well, now that everybody's awake again,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're just obviously talking about a few different areas in the US, New York, Florida, California, and the comparisons of how expensive the real estate is in those areas compare and even still, like, Toronto's expensive, but those
Not
places are
compared.
just so much more expensive.
Yeah, yeah, like it's crazy. Like even in Brooklyn, you don't even have to be in Manhattan or Tribeca. It's crazy, crazy expensive no matter where you go. And right now, rentals in Toronto have gone down so much that, you know, now is usually the best time to get a rental. I don't know why people move in the summer, honestly. Like you're
Well,
paying $400 more just by moving in the summer because it's more convenient to move in the summer.
right.
But in the winter, because even if your lease is up again in the upcoming year, like you're still going to get a rental discount if you plan on moving because those are just usually the best times to secure a rental.
Just
What?
because there's less people looking
Yeah,
in the winter, because less
no
people
one
do
likes
wanna, you
no one
know.
likes moving in the winter, like moving trucks, snow.
Yeah, so well, so far this winter would be pretty good, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
been warm out, there's been literally no snow, so, uh, but yeah, I can see historically if you're nobody wants to move when it's -20 and in a snowstorm, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
it is it's definitely much easier to it's even easier to buy now.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
If you have the money. Because listen, if you're selling low, you're also buying low. But if you're selling high, you're buying high.
Yeah,
And I know people don't like to hear when realtors say that, but it's true. Because you know that the second rates are going to go down, it's game over. It's game
yeah.
over. You're going to see all these little people coming in and trying to bite on everything that they can get. And then everyone's going to be like, oh, why is the market like this again? It's like, well, it wasn't like this a few months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. I'm gonna just, give you a quick little story here. So I moved into this house just over 2 years ago, and my neighbors told me, it's like, "Yeah, we paid," I think they told me they paid, like, $39,000 for their house
Wow.
in 1975, we'll say, whatever year in the mid-70s, and they were like, "Yeah, we could sell it today for, say, 500 grand or whatever the price might be." But they're like, why would we do that? Because then we'd have to go out and buy something for 500
More.
or 600 grand, right? So it's like, I'm sure at a selling price of 40 grand in 1975 or 6, that, you know, pretty well guaranteed it's paid off, right?
Yeah, they would have a mortgage again, and a lot of people just don't wanna do that, like, you have to have a reason to move, like, are you upsizing? Like, are you growing your family? Are you downsizing, you know?
Right.
Is your family moving out? So you need to have a reason, like a motive to actually do that, and I agree with that 100%. It's like my parents, they're like, "Why would I sell the house that we've been living in since" this is what my dad was telling me, he's like, "Since when did they purchased it, I think, in '99, and no mortgage on it anymore. It's just there's no point because then he's
Right.
gonna have to buy something else, and the average home in their area is like 1.4 million. So why would they do that?"
Yeah. Well, and going back to my neighbors, they've lived there for nearly 50 years, so they're obviously happy there, right? Like,
Yeah,
you spend 50 years in one spot, you're probably
it's
okay
different.
with it.
They could sell and like move to Florida or something. That's a reason to sell, you
Yeah,
know.
like, obviously, they're older and retired at this point too, so,
Yeah,
um, yeah, who knows what they're thinking in the future, but literally after they told me that, this like, within the first week or 2 of moving into this house, I texted my real estate agent, and I was like, I said to her, I'm like, "I think I overpaid for this house. My neighbors paid 39 grand for their house." And
yeah,
she was just like, "Yeah, ha, 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 I wish," right? Like, I
yeah,
think she knew right away that obviously they'd been there for a long, long time.
yeah. 70s is a long time.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't even think that I had family in the country in the 70s. So yeah, it's a while.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
Um, Give me a quick second here. I'm going to pull up your link tree.
sure.
We'll stop the tickers for a second, and I'm going to. Oh, I've got to hit share screen, and obviously, I will put this link tree in the description below, so you can find Danielle
Oh, that's
and
me.
all of your links here.
Yeah, I put the consult one first and these two articles they wrote about me at the bottom.
Cool. So yeah, you can book a real estate consultation with me here.
Yes.
Canadian Dreams turns into nightmares featured article.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but it's one that went viral if you're
Is that an
interested.
article you wrote?
I didn't write it. No, I posted a video going off about the politics and healthcare and rates and a bunch of other things, and it went viral. So people started writing articles about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're interested,
Yeah, I definitely will.
you can
I
take a read.
didn't I hadn't clicked on this yet. So
Yeah.
the articles are based on like a TikTok video or something?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to find the TikTok video. Well, there's probably a link in the article.
Yeah.
New Toronto article feature.
Yeah. That's another one.
Another.
Article.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Search for a rental. So you help people search for rentals as well.
Yes, of course. I do rentals and I do sales. I do not discriminate.
Find a pre-construction project. Walk
Mhm.
me through this because obviously we see, well, definitely more so here. A few years ago, north of the 401 in Bowmanville,
Yeah.
there was, like, just this massive, 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 like, several 100-acre subdivision project,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, just talk me through this process a little bit more.
If someone was interested in buying a pre-con.
Yeah.
So, luckily for me, I work with a platinum agent, so I have access to pretty much any project. Um, and so I basically this the website builder that I have connected all the projects that you can find throughout Ontario through my website. So like you can search up a specific area and you'll see the projects that are available. And if you click it and you're interested in one of them, it actually gets sent directly to me, and then I end up calling you or explaining to you how the process works. And I basically give you a whole package of like floor plans, prices, um, everything like that. And then if you're interested in obviously purchasing, I take you through step by step of what the next steps are.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I did have actually a few people click on that link in the last few weeks that I reached out to, and I got them the project within like a second. All I need
Cool.
is like an hour to get all my stuff collected, make one phone call, and then I send you prices, floor plans, anything you want.
Okay.
So I
That's
found that that
interesting.
button is very helpful for people who are interested in pre-construction projects. It
Oh,
takes you
yeah.
directly to my website. That's why it's there. Yeah.
Search for your dream home.
Yeah.
That seems pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I have everything that MLS has, so all you have to do is click that.
And ready to sell, get a free market analysis.
Yeah. So basically what that does is you'll put in your address and then it gets sent to me, and I basically prepare you a free market analysis on your home.
Navigating the industry as a female. Now, this is interesting because real
Yeah.
estate is and realtors is one of those industries where it does seem to be as many or maybe even more females than males.
Mhm. Thank God for that. And I feel like women could be trusted more, but that's just my opinion. A lot
So,
more
yeah,
empathy. We have a lot
yeah,
more.
okay, more empathy, I can
That's what I
understand
meant to
that
say.
for
Like
sure.
I'm a lot more sensitive than a man is for sure. And like for me to hurt someone or to do something bad to someone would eat me alive. So I mean, I would trust me over a male realtor any day.
Fair enough, fair
Yeah.
enough. Before we move on from that, just sort of any other thoughts about being a female within the real
So
estate
that
industry?
that was a podcast I was on. It was actually on TLN TV network. So if you guys want to listen to it, it's pretty good. We actually talk about like things that we go through as female realtors, a lot more people wasting our time and like safety precautions that we take. So it's actually it's a fun video. Like we had some fun making it. There's a lot of laughs.
Interesting.
Um but it is very different. It is very different being a female realtor than a male realtor. I mean, we experience different kinds of interactions for sure. So, it's a good watch. It's a good watch.
Yeah, the safety precautions alone would be interesting. Maybe I just watch too many, TV shows that are, like,
Yeah,
crime related, but that's definitely one where it's like, "Oh, they're
it's
going to meet
real.
the female realtor," and all of a sudden she's
Dead.
abducted or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah. I also
um
have a free buyer's package. I thought that would be cool. I think I'm gonna make a seller's one as well. It's kind of something that, like, I would show someone at a buyer presentation, which I don't really do because, I basically explain everything in the breakdown, but I have that there as well, so it kinda takes you step by step process of what it's like to buy a property with me. So I created kind of like a slideshow, which I
Yep,
thought.
that's good. Yeah, it would be interesting to have the seller's package as well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put one there, but I kinda keep that for listing presentations, but maybe I'll make like a more simple one because the listing presentations that I have, like I put a lot of work into it, so
Right.
I don't want anyone stealing it.
And
Yeah.
then, a mortgage land transfer tax calculator that I'm sure
Mhm.
is very helpful.
Very helpful. That's actually how you can also break down the prices versus like renting and buying. So that's also attached to my website, and for any property that you click, you could see the breakdown at the bottom. It's pretty amazing. I'm really happy that I have that feature.
And then into the social media
Yeah,
links, TikTok.
TikTok.
Sounds
One
like, you're kinda You make a lot of TikToks?
I do. I try and post at least, like, 4 a day, so I'm very consistent,
Oh, wow, that is a lot.
which means I read a lot and I record a lot, and I think it's important because if you're gonna work with someone in the industry, they have to know what they're talking about,
For
so and
sure.
it also pushes me. It pushes me to read more about the market and stuff like that because I'm not gonna post false information online when my face is there and my
Yeah,
voice.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then are these 2 social media as well, or is it websites?
So that's my website, Meet the Team One Stop Shop. It's like the lawyer that I work with, the mortgage broker that I work with, photographer that I work with, stuff like that. And then that's also for my website, the price drop alert in your desired area. So you could just sign up, put in your area or a street, and anytime there's price drops, it'll get sent straight to your email. People
Wow.
love that one.
And yeah, I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's all of a sudden dropped by 10 grand or whatever the price may be.
exactly. It's helpful because it keeps you notified. So it's good. It's a
And
good
then
thing.
more, social medias here, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook,
Facebook and
and
Twitter.
Twitter/X.
Yeah, so you can find me pretty much anywhere. All you have to do is click my link tree and I have everything there. It's
Yes,
all
and like I said, this link tree will be in the description below, so it will be very easy to find Danielle. I
yeah.
love this too. I help people build wealth through real estate, sellers, buyers, landlords, tenants.
Yeah, so I've been using that line for a while and I saw that some realtors took that from me. It was so annoying, but yeah. I'm sure people have said it before, but I do
Right.
help people build wealth through real estate and I help everybody. So, yeah.
And then that's how you and I met here on
Twitter.
you're still, gung ho on calling it Twitter. I haven't heard you say X once.
Yeah, listen, I joined February 2020. I should have gotten it early, but I didn't. I was on Twitter earlier, but it was for like personal use. It was more of like tweeting random things. It has nothing to do with real estate. Hopefully no one ever finds that account. But yeah, I love Twitter so much. And I'm not gonna call it X. I
Fair
can't.
enough. At Estate Levy on
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah. I couldn't get my Levy real estate group handle, so I settled with estate Levy, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's nice. Simple.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Um, okay. A few more things before we wrap up. I see we're already pushing 50 minutes. We'll probably get close to an hour here right shortly.
Mhm.
I guess one, just open up the floor. Is there sort of anything else that you want to say? Just anything.
Hmm. About the housing market?
Anything. Wide open floor.
Let's see. Well, I'm hoping for better times. I know that we're supposed to I know that there's supposed to be another 10% drop going into the first quarter of 2024. I have been hearing big banks talking about how they're going to lower interest rates, and I know that it's going to take time to go down just like it took time to go up.
Right.
It took time to torture us. So now it's going to take time to untorture us. And I do think that things are going to change drastically in the spring of 2024. And I was just having dinner with people on Christmas Eve, and we were talking about this. How they're actually all investors, the people that I was with. I think they own about like 6 to 7 properties just in Toronto alone. And they're all waiting for the summer, spring of 2024 because they all feel like things are gonna really change then. So if people are interested in purchasing, I don't suggest really waiting till 2024. Just don't lock in a rate.
Right.
Yeah, because it's just not worth it. Prices are they're gonna skyrocket because rates are gonna go down. And I feel like that's what's gonna happen. And a lot of sellers are gonna come out during that time to get rid of, whatever it is that they want to get rid of. In the meantime, there's still gonna be unrealistic sellers out there, but there are deals. There are
Yeah.
deals. Yeah.
So right now, today, or this last week of 2023, if you were to buy a house, you would say don't lock in on a fixed rate because the rates are probably going to go down. Get a variable rate.
Yeah. They're gonna go down.
Yeah.
They're talking about going down. So they're gonna go down for sure. Yeah, and you don't want to be stuck in something that's going to make you pay $6,000 a month versus like $2,000 a month. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. Actually, that's sort of, again, going back to my personal situation, when I bought this house just over 2 years ago, long
Mhm.
before the interest rates really started to rise,
Yeah.
and yeah, I locked in a fixed rate at, I think, 2 it was in that 2.9 to 3.1 range,
Yeah, that's
which is
amazing.
pretty good, right?
It's better than what we're seeing now for sure. And I know a lot of people say you're married to the price, not the rate.
Yeah.
But
Well, yes, you are, but also, these last 2 years, what I've been watching rates go up and up and up and up, and I'm like, "Oh, when I have to, refinance my mortgage," I'm just like, I'm
hopefully it'll be
hoping
at a
by
good
then the
time.
rates come back down, which it looks like they're going to. I may be just lucky. Um,
I had clients that bought pre-construction off of me like a year or 2 years ago. They're the closings are coming up in like a year, and I already knew. I'm like, don't worry. By then, they're gonna lower it because they saw the process. They're like, these rates are going up. I'm like, well, thankfully, you have a year and a half until you're closing on your project, so you're good.
yeah,
So I wasn't too concerned about them, thank God. But definitely feel bad for people that were coming up on renewals that still are coming up on renewals, and hopefully there's going to be some sort of significant change towards the guess maybe even the second or the third quarter of 2024, God willing.
right. Okay, one last thing before we wrap
Hmm.
up, and I know this has been on everyone's mind, totally not related to real estate or investing, but we all wanna know, are you related to Dan and Eugene Levy?
Oh my God.
You must get
Everyone,
asked that
oh,
all the time.
all the time. Someone asked me that 2 days ago. Like that's how common it is. No, I actually always ask my mom. I'm like, are we related to Eugene Levy? Because I loved American Pie. And she's like, no, we're not. There's like no relation.
Oh,
But
that's too bad.
maybe they are fellow Jews like myself. So I don't know. Maybe.
I would think, like, there must be some distant relation because 'cause they're from that area too, right?
I
Like,
know. I know. And we kind of look alike.
yeah,
We have like just the dark features.
okay,
But they're Russian, I think.
let's
They're like
find them on Twitter and X, and we'll tag them in this when I upload this.
maybe Eugene will adopt me. I don't know. I wanted to be an actress. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, they're fun. Obviously, Schitt's Creek was an amazing fun TV show, and,
Yeah, I should start watching that. I only watched like I think the first season.
yeah, no, it just got better and better each season. I think they ended up doing about 6 seasons, and, yeah, it was a incredible show.
Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely get into it again for sure. Yeah.
Okay, with that said, thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on and spending time with me
Thank you
and
for having
everyone
me.
here on the Passive Income Podcast. It's been absolutely amazing, amazing insight to the Toronto real estate market. And obviously, we've talked a little bit about Canada, Ontario, Canada, and a few places in the US as well. So,
Mm.
just amazing insight into real estate. Thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate having you on. And yeah, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Awesome. And obviously, if you're still here, oh, so 50 some minutes later, please be sure to hit like and subscribe.
Bye, guys.